Hi, I'm Michelle Obama, and this is the Michelle Obama Podcast. I talk with the people I love about the relationships that comfort us and challenge us and make us who we are. The Michelle Obama Podcast is a Spotify original podcast. Join us. You can listen to the series for free only on Spotify.
Presented by Salesforce.
You love listening to your favorite artists, and we love listening to you. So let's talk. Click now to take part in our short survey, and you could win a month of gloriously uninterrupted music with Spotify Premium. That means you can enjoy all your favorite artists ad-free. Sound good? Then all you need to do is hit the banner now for your chance to win.
Shut up. Shut up. Who the heck do you think you're talking to? You scumbag. I'm wearing what's for dinner. 'Cause I'm hungry. How's it going, everybody? We're playing Albion. How dare you? Huh? All I gotta say. Huh? Look at my desktop.
After 1,000 years, the mists have finally cleared to reveal Albion, the land of myth and magic beyond the sea.
I understand it
Back
now.
in the old world, a king who rules with an iron hand longs for Albion's riches. He summons adventurers to claim the land. Hoping to escape their grim lives, many follow, dreaming of a bright future in Albion. But the journey across the sea is long and dangerous. And only the most daring cross successfully. Those who make it arrive at the shores of this magical land, from where they immediately begin to craft, trade, and conquer. You are among these adventurers. Head out and forge your own destiny in Albion.
Hi, do you like music? Then cancel your subscription today. Get the heck out of here. You know, I do like ads. I enjoy ads. Ads let you know what's out there. You want to know about a new movie? You know, movie trailers are ads, by the way. If there's no ads, you wouldn't know what to do in life. You have to have ads. Ads help you. Hey, thank you, Misty. Albion! You see my salamander? I can't believe I got rid of all my money. I got rid of all my money. Can you imagine? I was rich. I was so rich, I had like 8 million, 10 million gold or silver, and now it's all gone. Yesterday I was fishing, mining, and so forth, just for a bit. And I have nothing else. I have this horrible salamander. I mean, it's good. It's good. The good thing about the salamander is that it has a consistent speed. You see. Yeah. You see, the title of the stream is Stream Sniping Awareness. I'm aware. I'm very aware. Other salamanders can shoot fire. There's a whole class of mount called battle mount. This is a salamander, but the salamander can carry a little bit, a little bit. It's not a transport thing. It's just, you know, it has 90 movement speed bonus and 90 gallop speed bonus. It's the same. Yeah. You know that way. Hi ho. Are you from Uganda? So, don't mind me. I'm just plucking some hemp before I leave. It's important to get these flowers on the hemp because they contain the vital oils needed for the transmutation. There's oils found all throughout the leaves and flowering buds of this hemp plant. Hemp, I think it's called. Yes. You have to be careful when collecting these flowering buds, leaves, to leave the stems. Yeah. Yeah, so harvesting above your level is a waste of time. Because it doesn't give you, let's see, every time I do this it gives me 13 fame, whatever. But higher levels don't give you the same amount of extra fame that they would because based upon the speed of the flim flam gabba gabba hee hey, you know what I mean? I don't think it's equal. Well, actually, yeah. You see, that gave me 13, and this right here also gives me 13. Oh wait, that's 45. Well, that's uncommon. Okay, this one's 22. The goal is to collect the budding flowers and so forth. When they're at their stickiest. You might say icky. Right here. We gotta make sure to collect it. Yeah, buddy. Yep. Oh yeah. Got some northern lights over here. You see them northern lights? Mm-hmm. Here it is. Slag beast with armored eyeballs. Do you have armored eyeballs? See this right here? Much better. This is far more worth my time. I collect the whole plant, you know, more, and there's more in there, is what it feels like. Let me do this. Oh yeah. I keep the hemp product away from the other things, separated, you see? Mm-hmm. Are you playing the game? Is anybody playing the game right now? DJ Microbius is busy. I'm just doing some harvesting over here in the Flim Flam Hills for a second. It says you're busy. Yeah. You watching me, beast? Are you watching me? Are you tasting the air? What's it taste like? What you looking at? Stop looking at things. Alright, ride. Oh, yeah. I can't carry too much because I'm not using a transport mount. Getting a bit of stone as I move on through. I just got the hemp, now it's trying to get some stone. Don't you hate after collecting the hemp and you get filled with stone, you get weighed down. Oh, Mike, you gained 400 or so learning points when you upgraded to the premium account. I hope you count as a referral. I don't know how that works. Whoa! Yeah, I did the same thing and I spent them. Oh, I spent them. I upgraded a couple of my things. So, hey Douglas, what's this game? Fantastic question. Fantastic question. It's Albion. And since you asked that question, Douglas, it's time to provide you the story of the world of Albion. I looked it up last night. It's quite interesting. It rivals that of World of Warcraft because I'm well versed in the lore of Azeroth. Okay, I'm well versed in that world. I know all about the darn thing from the beginning of the universe up until Mists of Pandaria or something. I've read all the books. You should see my Kindle library. I have all kinds of the War of the Ancients, all kinds of flim-flams. I know about it. It's awesome. The Titans, the Dragons, the Aspects. But this game, very similar. These creatures here that I'm fighting are from the old world of magic and legend, myth and wonder. In this land of Albion, it was once covered by mist for a long time. It says at the beginning of the video, for 1,000 years this place has been covered up, whatever. It's been like 10 years, by the way. It's been like 5 years. It hasn't been very long since humans have shown back up here in this land. This is a mysterious, crazy land.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I worked on upgrading my Flim Flam. I upgraded my voice, and it won't be ready until this afternoon. So this is what it sounds like now. I'm gonna have it play again once the voice is finalized. So here you go. 2,000 years ago, Albion is a wild place where humans struggle to survive. They live in simple tribes, scavenging a living while trying to avoid bigger predators, the dire beasts, giants, and worst of all, the destructive and tyrannical dragons. 1800 years ago, Albion is ruled by fearsome dragons. In the shadow of these tyrannical creatures, the first humans begin to attune themselves to the magic of the land, becoming druids. They make an accord with the giants of Albion, enabling the various tribes of humanity to flourish. The greatest of the giants come together with the first druids to work a great magic, forcing the dragons to sleep. The ravaged land soon recovers, and the humans and giants together guard the dragons' resting places, naming themselves Albion's keepers. 1600 years ago, a druid rises who is unlike the others. Some say he has gained secret knowledge by eavesdropping on the dragon's dreams, others that he has talked to other creatures deep in the bowels of the earth. His name is Merlin, and he has a dream of uniting the tribes. His message is simple: one day the dragons will wake, and on that day, the world must be ready. Never again can Albion be allowed to fall under the dragon's rule. 1500 years ago, though the druids do not approve of Merlin, they do not oppose him either, and he is able to start uniting the tribes under one leader. He approaches the witch Morgana for help, and she crafts the mighty Excalibur, a weapon so powerful that it will make whoever wields it into Albion's king. It is the first time that metal is mined and forged in Albion. Excalibur is the first sword, born of steel and magic. Unknown to Merlin, the secrets of its making are given to Morgana by demons who whisper to her from across the void. Together Merlin and Morgana begin to recruit from the lesser tribes, gifting them metal armor and powerful magic weapons. The first knights are created. The greatest of them is given Excalibur and named King. They quickly establish themselves as a new power in Albion, ruling from the castle of Camelot. 1300 years ago, for many years, the kings of Albion rule wisely and well. Merlin and Morgana guide them, establishing codes of honor and chivalry. It is an age of great prosperity, and then disaster strikes. A great red dragon, Dother, rises from its slumber, roaring for those nearby to join it. King Uther leads the knights of Camelot to battle, supported by Merlin and Morgana. There is an epic battle that turns the sky black for 3 days. When the sunlight finally finds its way to Albion again, it shines on a victorious Camelot. The Dother and the lesser dragonlings it summoned have been slain, and the remaining dragons continue to sleep undisturbed. Albion is safe once more, but there has been a cost. In order to deliver the killing blow, Uther has sacrificed himself, leaving no recognized heirs. This leaves the survivors in a strange position. The immediate threat is gone, and they have no natural leader. Merlin searches the land for illegitimate offspring, while Morgana suggests her own son as an alternative. Unfortunately, they cannot agree on a suitable candidate, and Merlin steals Excalibur, giving it to Arthur and declaring him ruler of Albion. Furious at this betrayal, Morgana and her followers rise up in opposition, and the humans of Albion have their first and worst civil war 1280 years ago. Sensing that the battle is too evenly matched, Merlin goes to the keepers of Albion and shows them the devastation the war is bringing to the land. Hiding his own hand in things, he convinces them that Morgana is the biggest threat to the land Albion has faced since the dragons, and convinces them to aid his cause. Morgana and her forces are immediately forced to retreat, and, too proud to accept defeat, she uses dark magic to call for aid. She is answered by the demons, who offer their help in exchange for entry into the world. Morgana accepts, tearing open a gateway to hell. With her new demonic allies, she is more than a match for Merlin. 1260 years ago, after years of war, Merlin realizes that neither side can easily win, and that as the demons spill out into the world, Albion itself is likely to be destroyed. While Arthur leads his knights towards the final battle, Merlin convinces his apprentices to perform a powerful ritual that will sacrifice the knights and restore peace. He doesn't tell them it will also result in their deaths. As the battle reaches its most frantic, the ritual begins, and Merlin takes Excalibur and shatters it. The resulting explosion kills most of the knights on both sides, and casts the demons back across the void. They drag a screaming Morgana with them as they go. Merlin himself vanishes. The oldest of the giants return to the earth, and all of Albion is shrouded in mist, sealing it off from the rest of the world. Most of the continent starts to recover, except for those places where the ritual's magic was most powerful. But Morgana had one last trick to play. As she realized her doom was imminent, she ordered one of her high priestesses to flee, taking with her a trove of secret knowledge and her newborn child, in the hopes that they would one day return to Albion and find a way to bring her back. 200 years ago, for over a millennium, things have been peaceful in Albion. The demon wars are only remembered in campfire stories. The few survivors of Morgana's cult hide in the shadows, biding their time. Meanwhile, the baby that crossed the waters has become a conqueror and founded a line of kings and queens. The ancient secrets they took with them are locked in an old library, all but forgotten. 15 years ago, the magical mists surrounding Albion begin to fade, allowing a group of explorers to discover it. They report to their king across the sea. The king knows nothing of his ancestral history or Albion's, but he recognizes a new land, rich in resources that his war-torn nation sorely needs. As the mists weaken, they reveal parts of Albion still scarred by the old war. Skeletons in ancient armor rise once more and wander the land. Most of them are mindless, tragic things, still trying to fight a war that ended long ago. Where the knights had been reduced to walking corpses, Merlin's apprentices were transformed into harvesters, bitter shades that hunger constantly for fresh souls. At this time, Morgana's cult begins to stir, looking for a chance to restore their lost glory. 12 years ago, the king sends an expedition to Albion. It is mainly made up of criminals and enemies of the throne. They begin to set up rudimentary settlements. 8 years ago, Albion is not kind to the newcomers. Many die killed by foxes and wolves, by angry tribesmen and hungry giants. The survivors soon fall to infighting. Some are recruited by the disciples of Morgana. They scrape together simple versions of magic and crafting used by the other factions. But the poorly channeled magic slowly drive them mad. The leader of the colony wanders off one night claiming to have heard voices and returns a changed man, proclaiming himself to be a heretic. Shortly afterwards, all contact with the new colonies is lost. 5 years ago, the king sends a large contingent of royal expeditionary forces to secure a foothold in Albion. They take a significant chunk of coastline and erect a great wall to artificially create a safe space within Albion. In truth, this space is not actually safe, but the royal forces do their best to patrol it and impose the king's law where they can. 1 year ago, the colonies are deemed safe enough for civilians. The king allows people to petition for a charter to go to Albion and seek their fortune. There you go. There you go. From 200,000 years ago or something. I don't know. But now. Cool. Bunch of dragons. Bunch of flim-flams breakdancing in the snow. And there it was. So that voice was pretty good. But that voice will get better because it was kind of warbly. Over time, you kind of forget that it's a fake voice. Or you get totally accustomed to how that fake voice is talking. I mean, to the point where you accept it. Sort of like listening to Alexa talk to you for a while, you know? Yeah, interesting story and all that. I didn't even know that the game had a story. I thought it was just like, okay, there's a thing, go out there. I figured, you know, that's the official story. That wasn't like some Wikipedia fanfiction. You go to albion.com/lore, and I just copied and pasted all of this. That's all I did. Wow. You see, I just pasted all of that. You know, there's all kinds of garbage. I'm sure we'll learn more over time. History. You got different factions. There are different factions. There are 7 active factions. The Royals, the Heretics. Well, I have to read each of these, right? Demons of Hell, the Disciples of Morgana, Avalonians. I don't even know what... Are they angels? Are they angels? I've heard of Avalonian shards. Are they the angels come to help us? Tell me about the angels. Here we go. I'll just copy this right here. And this is still my old voice, okay? This is still going to be the old voice, but it's going to render in the background. Okay? This is the old voice. It's still kind of warbly. Yeah, them pulling in notions of like King Arthur, Merlin, Morgana into the mix adds a level of realism because all those stories might be true. You know, because they are real world myths, sort of. Hand-me-down stories. Maybe they might be real. And it's sort of considered to be real. I mean, watch this. Boom. Hmm. 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 Let's see here. You see, you never know these days. You never know these days. Yeah, sure. Saying he's not a real person. It was written, medieval Welsh poetry, blah blah blah. First appears in Joffrey, blah blah blah. Historia, blah blah blah. 1100, whatever. Amalgamation of previous historical and legendary figures. You see? Okay, combined existing stories of Midrin Wilt, a North flim-flam prophet and madman. I don't like that. What is this, biased? With no connection to King Arthur, even though that person's real. Tales of a stupid war. Melodius Ambrosius. Ambrosius. Well, rendering the character, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. Lies. King Arthur did all kinds of stuff. He's a figure. Yep. He's found a rest in Avalon. Okay, Avalonian shards. Avalon is the name of heaven. Look, a legendary island. It's real. It's all real. Sorry. Look. Tons of beeswax. Otherworldly island. Sounds real enough to me. Is that where the elves went to when they sailed a certain direction? They went to Avalon. It's an island of apples. It's the island of apples, people. The island of Avalon. The island of Avalon. Oh my god. No one knows where it is. Maybe that's the island. Maybe that's the island. Or maybe, just maybe. That's the island of Avalon. Maybe. And now that we know that Avalon is completely real, let's hear what these punks have to say about it. Right there. Long before the first colonists arrived in Albion, its native inhabitants had attuned themselves to the magic within the world by listening to whispers of stick and stone. This was a nature-loving tribe called the Keepers. There were others, though, who saw the pure power of the land and claimed it as their own. Are you done talking to me? You little sassafras McGrass person. One moment, please. Sometimes I have to slap this thing into submission. Alright. Keep it on. Well, King Arthur was a person. It's sort of like Kim Jong-il. I mean, if you had stories, you'd hear about him being born in a rainbow and flying and riding a horse blindfolded backwards. You know, playing perfect golf games. No one knows how this person came, but we do know that they are born of pure magic and wonder. I think that all that matters is our current impression of these things. Like right now, Merlin, we know what Merlin looks like. He's the default wizard, you know? Or whatever, but he doesn't, of course he didn't look like that, but you know, we have this impression. If there is a movie involving Merlin, if there is a B quality movie, you know, one of the B movies, of Merlin, pointed hat with a little moon on it and stuff, and a big old white beard, you know, going, oh, just default wizard. Default super wizard Merlin. But what is a wizard? Y'all know that wizards existed, right? Or whatever you might call them. How come in all that I didn't... How come in all that reading I didn't see the word... Hey, what word did I not see? Or did I not read? That binds this to reality. Where myth and legend combine. Magic and wonder and reality. Science and magic combine. I don't know. Alchemy. Alchemy. There's people called alchemists, and they were basically wizards. We saw magic, but we didn't see alchemy because there was no mention. Oh yeah, by the way, probably some alchemists back then. It was just a bunch of. By the way, we saw the word madman. We saw madman and wizard, madman, but no alchemist. Interesting. Interesting. You know. If you ever see an image like this, of this garbage, that's an alchemist. He looks just like a darn wizard, doesn't he? That's what they are. They're people trying to figure out that they're trying to distill the divine nature of reality to make themselves a magical, godlike being. They're scientists trying to figure out how it all works. Chemistry came from alchemy. Right? They just took off the al part. Yes. Alchemy. So alchemy is basically science. Sort of. We're trying to figure out how things work through contemplation, replication, experiment. You know, bring things together, take it apart, and it's a broken down. And if you look at all the ancient alchemic processes, it's a very deliberate process of transmutation, all that garbage, and they figured out that they could do it. It's just, it gets funky with terms of the ether and condensing moonlight and the philosopher's stone. It gets all kind of funky in that world, you know, and the weird paintings and the symbols. But this has been studied for a very long time. And, you know, it's just for thousands of years, people have been passing down information. And that turned into like, Freemasons and everything. But it's all the... Pretty sure Da Vinci was probably an alchemist, or whatever. All those people working in some attic, making inventions all day long. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of their information was hidden in a strange... So an alchemist wouldn't have a book talking about how to combine chemicals. They would have weird paintings like this. Like that. And all the information that you need is here. Things are labeled in a certain way, and it's describing how things work deeply, with deep symbolic information that's all throughout this crazy situation. And they're trying to combine and condense and purify and whatever. But that's how you get your essences and everything, and that's how we seasoning, you know, like seasoning that you put on your food. All of that is a weird combined purified essence of a plant. You know, if anybody saw a your average kitchen spice rack, it looks like an alchemist's lab, just in different containers. Like it's a commercially standardized process. The entire act of cooking is basically an act of alchemy. Normal people don't have access to heating ranges where you could bring things to precise temperatures for precise times, adding in precise amounts of chemicals. Sometimes, if you add your little spice mix, your spice mix has all kinds of weird chemicals in it. Okay? All kinds of weird stuff in there that we've perfected as a civilization to the point where the magic is now gone. A long, long time ago, it'll be one person working alone, inventing something crazily amazing that only one kingdom has access to. And the king would want these really wise men, humans, figuring out stuff in their castle because that would give their kingdom some crazy advantage. Imagine one kingdom figures out gunpowder before another one. You know? And that's just science, trying to figure out, well, how do you replicate this weird thing that happens? What is that? How do we get more of it? You know, even understanding how to get metal out of ore is a weird process. Sure, a caveman can do it, but a caveman can do all kinds of stuff if you show him how. But the process of understanding it is a long... or even folding metal, how to do it into like a scientific process. It was always about purification. Being able to get a pure block of shining metal out of some ugly stone, that's a big deal. You know? Getting some gold bar out of some ugly bleh. Or any metal. This is pretty amazing. Or even involving a chemical process. Sometimes there's maybe a rusty sort of rock that after you crush it and heat it and do all kinds of stuff and mix it with carbon and blah blah blah, you end up getting metal out of it. You get iron from this ugly red rock doing all kinds of weird stuff. I would like to see you make some bread. Let's just say that there was no bread before the wizards showed up. The wizards showed up and showed a couple civilizations how to make some bread, and they became prosperous. And then one kingdom has some bread, and another one doesn't. Can you imagine if a long, long time ago, just imagine one kingdom having bread, knowing how it works. How about bread and pasta? Pasta's a big deal as well. It's sort of the same concept. But still, it's a similar, but it involves very long-term planning, consolidation of a bunch of grain, a process to efficiently grind it and purify it, and then combine it with something else to make a pasty situation that becomes congealed that you then heat up to make your food. You know, or with the bread situation, you have to have a leavening agent. You have to have some sort of yeasty situation that consumes the dough to make it fluffy, which is weird. You think cavemen are thinking about that? Or you have to have some sort of chemical that expands to make your bread fluffy, to make it stretch, you know? I tell you, this game is Albion Online.
Oh, yeah.
So ancient cultures aren't thinking about, yeah, you have flatbread, or you have like a, for example, a tortilla, right? Or a pita sort of thing, or a cracker, right? A cracker is an example of unleavened bread, and it's very dense, and it's not very efficient, is the point. Flatbread is not as efficient and doesn't stretch as far as aerated bread. So you can feed a whole colony with less food, essentially. If you add that process, it's sort of like you're stretching out the food, and it makes it more edible. You don't have to chew on this weird gummy piece of garbage forever, like the lembas bread, you know? Imagine how dense that is. It's only nutrient dense because it's just, this is good. Yeah, how long do you have to chew on a piece of white bread before it goes away? Just, you blow it and just disintegrates. That's a good thing and a bad thing, but you're stretching it out. That's only part of the process, you know? And it's just impractical. How many crushed nuts or crushed stalks of corn, grain things go into one cracker. Here you go. Have the cracker, my lord. The whole field is vanquished for this one cracker. I don't know. A certain amount. I guess you could... You get a handful of grain, you go crush, crush, crush. You end it with a handful of powder. You add some water in there, you go smashy, smashy, smashy. You have a dough ball, you put it in the sun for a while. And then you chew on that dough ball that's kind of partially congealed. And it gives you energy throughout the day. And that's what you do. You go out there, you grab a crush, 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 smashy, 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 add some spit, gum it up a bit, and put it on the shelf. Come back an hour, and you eat it. Yes, the whole yeast situation. So you have these weird wizards with those small vials saying, you must use this wisely. You have to spread it underground in a damp area. It's like a vial of... Imagine a vial of yeast spores. You must keep at least 10 loaves of bread for the yeast production. You must go on a quarterly moon to harvest the wheat. Replace and rotate the wheat with potatoes every 3rd season for nutrient exchange. What? Yes. We're just going out into the forest and grabbing some stuff. You want to change reality? Yes, you must plant. Cavemen don't know about planting. Planting. You know? They don't plant. Planting's the accidental thing. It's, we poop over there, and then next season there's more trees. And now we poop over there. It's just where you happen to go boom boom. You know? Because the seeds that make it through. If you're not eating them. You just, you know, you grab the red... You walk up to the mango tree and you pluck the orange ones. That's it. You don't chop down the mango tree and plant new ones. You don't clear out a whole section of the jungle to plant a bunch of mango trees. And then reap them all. And then sit there with 10,000 mangoes. You know? You don't do that. You just walk into the forest when you're hungry and you grab one. And then all of a sudden, this king says, hey, guess what, people? You have the mangoes. And I have a big territory. You see? I own all this land, including the desert, and the desert would love your mangoes. So I think you should grow more mangoes because your land is fertile. I'll pay you with other products and everything, give you whatever high accord and esteem and so forth. But you have to supply mangoes to the entire country now. You see? So now that whole area gets to be mango slaves. So there's not a problem with that. When before they didn't have to work or do anything because you walk outside and grab the food. It's just that other areas don't have mango trees and they don't have, you know, fertile soil. They have like sand and everything. They don't even have fresh water. So you have to have one area supply stuff for the other area. But if people lived where the resources were, you wouldn't have to do anything. Essentially. But my point is, I think that wizards or alchemists were vital as like a second-hand or third-hand party to the king. Because that's where the science and technology comes into play. Because they would know how to do certain things. At a certain point, they'd be no longer needed. Whenever you have a cook is like a specialized wizard that knows how to process some stuff and transmute it into another form, like a pie. I know how to take a bunch of stuff, roughly. I'm not quite sure how to get the stuff, but you know, that's for some other specialized person. It would actually suck. Well, I imagine some kingdoms were always cranking out new technologies because you have a distinct advantage. At a certain point, everyone has a bow, right? At one point, not many people maybe had the bow. Maybe just one civilization had the bow, and they were awesome. After being killed by a bow a couple times, you figure out how to recreate it. So, oh, it's like a flexi stick and some... Okay, what is this weird... I don't understand what this is. This... You might have to figure out the string part. They might use a ligament. Like a ligament from an animal. And a flexi sticky thing. And now they got some garbage version and give it a couple hundred years and boom, everybody has it. But at one point, only one person had it. But yeah, at a certain point, the wizards are no longer needed. They're almost like the frontal lobe of the king. You know, the extension. For example, the king says, let's go attack those people. We'll use the boats and go by sea. Let's go there now. And the wizard says, wait. If you wait 2 days, 2 sunsets, the setting of the sun on the second day, I promise you better sailing. And like maybe the because he can predict the tide. It can be a full moon or something. It can be a tide. You know, because that's what they do. Like all the weird astronomers. So they're the ones that know the seasons and the whole zodiac thing and then predicting things. It's all about predicting, making models of reality. The main problem was that they involved the divine aspect a bit too much to make it seem like a bunch of fluey-dooey nonsense. Okay? But and that was the whole point of it. They're trying to figure out how this system is ran in respect of the creator of the system. That was their mindset. That was their mindset. They wanted to replicate it and become it because they felt like they were in the image and they want to be able to, you know, if their main goal was if they could figure out how that tornado works, then they could figure out how this tornado works. If I could stop that tornado and perfect the tornado and shape it, then I could stop and shape and do whatever I want with this. You know, which would then help me do that. It was always about perfecting the self by doing the alchemical processes over time. It was always the great self-work of expanding consciousness and personal capability. It was a long-term meditative and hard-working process. And there is almost a secret society of these people throughout reality that, like I said, shared information through very, very strange images full of secrets. Here's a great example. Here's a good example. You say? This person is poking their head outside of reality. But this is a alchemic painting here. Okay? But the whole point, my whole point I'm making, which is getting easier to address, is that the whole notion that magicians are nonsense and just myth and wizards are stupid and fake. No, it's all real. It was just a different context and we are completely benefiting from their work. You know, hip rose of lilac essence cures amnesia or whatever. You know, that weird plant in that jungle does this specific thing. And we could purify it and replicate it in a lab. That, using other things. All that process was created using their techniques. Garbage. Yeah. Some garbage. That was actually the wrong picture I want to show you. This thing. There's all kinds of information in there. And it's meant to record what they're doing and to pass it to other people that know how to decode the information. And that's the main problem. There were no tomes of like written garbage. It might have been, but it was written in weird code or written backwards or written in some strange way. You know, it's sort of meant to be kept secret because it can be abused, this knowledge. Well, there you go. You read a book about the alchemy paintings? Well, there you go. Then you know what I'm talking about. That Merlin was an alchemist, and the fact that that Wikipedia article on Merlin didn't mention the word alchemy in the first 3 or 4 paragraphs talking about whether or not he's a real person, and that they said madman. Just because some people called that person a madman doesn't mean that that's how you describe them. That's ridiculous. What if people didn't know what you're doing out there in the field, but you're actually growing corn, and they said, yeah, he was some plant-loving madman. He worked with plants or something. Bunch of water, and some seeds, I guess. I don't know what he was doing, but it was crazy. Well, you just go out there and grab the fruit from the tree. Hey there, Jacob. How's it going? Yeah, I'm playing Albion online. It's a video game. I'm just collecting some ore, you know? Joop. Those madmen with that flapping machine, they'll get nowhere, those punks. I think, well, you know, like, Da Vinci did a lot with flying machines. I think a lot of people were trying to fly. It was like a fad. Big old stupid wings. But then once you figure it out, it's remarkably easy. Right? Once you figure out the shape that's needed, and anybody can draw the shape now. If I asked you, how does a wing work? You know how it works. There's a difference in pressure between the top and bottom of the wing. The bottom of the wing is flat, the top of the wing is curved. It takes the air more time to go over the top than the bottom. Therefore, you achieve lift. The end. Something like that. Something like that. And there's many ways you could achieve that. Just make air go, make there be, you know, more resistance and the flim flam. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. What I think what happened was, because people were stupid back then, people were really stupid a long time ago. You understand? They're very stupid. Not Da Vinci, though. Okay? But what I'm talking about is, that would have probably worked. This machine would have probably worked. It looks, those wings look kind of thin, and there's no shape to the wing, though. So I don't know about that. But, I think what happened was some podunk town a long time ago that doesn't have access to any information. Remember, people are like weird little... Like, if you time traveled a long time ago and you went from city to city across the world, people will be completely different from one another. But right now, because we all have the movies and music and, you know, internet, we can have this commonality about ourselves, about how we act and facial expressions and language and just a tone of voice and just posture. They're a bunch of weirdos living all by themselves in some state. The Wright brothers. And then all of a sudden, I'm guessing this happened. There was a museum. Okay? You heard about the museum downtown? Yeah, they got these flying machines. This guy named Da Vinci. You know? Or you have like some World Fair show up, and in the World Fair, there's a couple pictures of this. You know, check out this thing. And amazes people because they're living in their little box, driving down the road, going to their little mart, doing their thing back and forth, looking at the birds, not thinking about anything special because there's no Iron Man movie coming out next year, so they're not thinking about anything special. They're thinking about their Bible, and they're thinking about the flim-flams, and about their job, and about the family, and about that person down the street that wants to steal their cattle, and that's all they're thinking about. There's no time for, there's no space for it, because it's not even they've never heard of a wombat. They've never even heard of a kangaroo. If you went back in time to Tennessee in the year whatever, and you said kangaroo, they'll say, what's that funny word? Why would they have to know the word kangaroo? Think about it. Think about it. Koala bear. They have no reason to ever hear the word koala bear unless you went to a specific class where they talked about animals of the world, and here are some pictures. They didn't have the pictures at a certain point of every animal in the darn world, or a book about them. It'll be funky creatures in the edge of reality, the monsters of Zimbabwe is what it'll be, and you have some scary picture and some caricature, right? So back then, I think the Wright brothers were inspired by some world fair, some museum that rolled through town, and everyone got all bothered, and people had cameras, you know, and there's some notion of fame, you know, because there were newspapers, and only certain things got on the paper, because there's only a couple newspapers, you know, and there was a postal service and there was delivery, but it's only certain things, very small amount, information trickling around. You know, maybe some explorer went to some other continent and talked about the crazy gigantic cats they have. They're called tigers. They got these cats larger than as large as a horse. Imagine a cat as large as a horse. It's crazy. They're called tigers. They have them in Malaysia. It's a crazy land so far away you won't even believe. Snakes larger than your whole flim-flam. Can you imagine? Birds walking on two legs. Big old eyeballs everywhere. It's crazy. But now it's normalized. Everybody knows it. They didn't know it. They ain't know nothing. Yeah. Hey there, Charles. It's Labor Day. Yeah. So in terms of Merlin being a madman and all that, maybe they viewed it as a complete waste of time, and that maybe this guy's dangerous. Like, what's he doing over there? And he's not going about the normal flow of things, you know? And maybe they even saw that person as being a heretic. It's pretty heretical, like walking alone in the forest under moonlight, carrying a candle, talking to yourself, but plucking juniper berries and putting them into a vial with a little liquid solution, and then putting it in your satchel and then laying them out all by yourself. It's kind of a weird thing that you're doing, and no one understands why you're doing it. You try to explain the spiritual significance of it, and it sounds like you're talking to the spirits of the wood. But you're not talking to the spirits of the wood, you're talking to... So, I think people might have viewed alchemists as pagans, okay? And I think even in current fantasy culture, alchemy and pagan religion garbage, not garbage, you know, it's all the same. Okay, but when we think of pagan religions, we're thinking of mythology. The spirit of the rock, the spirit of the waterfall, a bunch of hoo-ha garbage. But in reality, it's all the same thing. And I think it's propaganda to separate the two, or to combine the two. You know what I mean? And because in reality, pagan means anything that isn't orthodox, and that you are you are holding spiritual significance to inanimate objects and to plants and rocks and river deltas. You know. But don't you think that if you did believe in whatever, that bush is the same thing. It's just a derivative. The apple is the same thing as the tree. And the root is all the same thing. It's not like you got the tree and the apple's over here. No, it's the same thing. So you should be able to look at the apple and figure out how the tree works. And that's how it works. It's not like one or the other. It's like there's stuff and reality. Reality is stuff. It's all the same. And if there is, it's all the same thing. So it's all contained within. And people didn't understand that, and they thought that it was heretical to be talking to a rock. But you're really talking to the source of all things that happens to be in the rock. Right? Get it? Yes, and the whole, well, the witches, right? They're the same thing as an alchemist. Sort of. It's just, you know. Well, let's just say that an alchemist is a pagan. Let's say that an alchemist is a very deliberate, scientific pagan. But the notion of pagan and a witch is just a default pagan. Default, whoop, female pagan. That's all it is. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that you believe certain things about reality and nature and that you act accordingly. If you feel a certain way when you put cinnamon on your pancakes because you know the nature of cinnamon and its alignment to a certain dimension, then you're a witch. You don't have to do a spell or something. It doesn't mean anything. It's just if you know about that layer of reality, that everything has a spiritual significance, blah, 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 and that things kind of help. If you're just a person that says, oh, you got a boo-boo on your knee? Use this aloe vera. You break it in half and rub it on there. If you don't hold any spiritual significance to it, you're not a witch. If someone else sees you using aloe vera on a sunburn, they might call you a witch. You say, no, 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 just break it in half. Look, it works. No, don't touch the plant. It's evil. The pure knowledge isn't the problem. It's the intent. If you know that, well, the divine nature of the spiritual creator is within the aloe vera plant, and I'm imbibing myself with its essences. The spirits of the aloe vera will now live within me, helping me to resist the sunburn in the future. Thank you, spirits of aloe vera. That's a bit different. Yeah. Like, a healer using a natural remedy is different than a person that has intent behind it. You know what I mean? If there's intent. If you walk up to a tree and you pluck some leaves while speaking to the tree saying, I'm sorry, you know, and you meditate and pray to the essence contained within the tree, then you walk on over and place one leaf at a time while lighting candles, and then you mix that together and then you use that as an ointment, that's being a witch. But just plucking the leaf and chewing on it because it gives you extra caffeine is not. You know what I mean? Right? If just because you know that the berries of that bush has a chemical that could increase your metabolism, and you walk by and you eat a couple berries after your meal to help you lose some weight, that's different than viewing each of those berries as a conscious spiritual entity that you're then plucking and combining and saying, you are all one, you are purified, I combine you. You put it in a thing, you lay it out side by side at moonlight, and then you crush them. And then you go blip, 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 and you go ha, hoo, ha, hoo, ha. And you breathe on it, and then you eat it. That's different. You know? And hopefully people in the past can make that significant difference. And certain acts are undeniable. If you walk into the woods a long time ago and you see a person wearing some weird clothing that they don't normally wear, so if you put on a different shirt before you eat the berry, that means you're a witch. I have to put on my special shirt and robe and hat, and I have to get this candle out from the shelf before I eat the berry, otherwise it won't work. You see? For example, holy water isn't all that holy unless there's a priest really doing it, saying prayers as they're doing it. It's not the water itself, you know? It's sort of like holy water, okay? It's not the water, it's the intent behind the water. It's not just a wafer. It's not wine, okay? So, for example, a witch or an alchemist would be an alchemist if you say, this is the blood of a flim-flam, drink it, but it's wine. That is a spiritual act. They're just saying, drink this wine, it'll make you feel good. That's different than saying, this is the theoretical aspect of the blood of the divine creator. Imbibe this as we chant in low harmonious tones in this room with these paintings and these candles. That's being a witch. Okay. Taking a pill because you have a headache and knowing that the headache is just a problem with blood flow or something like that, and if you take that thing, it'll relieve the pressure. But if you believe that you have a headache because there's a demon trapped in there, and if you ingest the berries of that plant at moonlight, the demons will escape because now these positive spirits are taking over. That's being a witch. You have to walk 15 paces with your eyes closed, spinning every third pace, hopping on one foot, and say ha la 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 hoo ha, and then it'll work. So if someone sees you doing that in the woods, there's no denying. You can't say, "Oh no, this berry helps me with my headaches." Well, I saw you hopping on one foot there. And why is that shirt covered in eyeballs? That's interesting. Well, it doesn't work unless the spirits see me through the frog eyes. Yes. Now, to play devil's advocate, I understand the problem with it. If you are truly spiritually aligned, you shouldn't have to modify anything. Why are you trying to modify reality for? Why do you have to? You should be able to walk outside and grab a fruit and leave. You know, there's something wrong if you have to modify things. If you are a wizard working for a king to help win in battle, then you're using divine knowledge against other humans for personal benefit. If that's what the alchemist really believes, that this is divine knowledge, then they're using it not just to help out people, they're using it to help that king win in battle. And that's a problem. You know? Versus just trying to figure it out for the nature of things. That's why it might be viewed as evil. You're doing some weird work to figure out the nature of things with a weird intent. It's to help out this king win in that sea battle. He has to have better gunpowder with a better charge. The last gunpowder didn't really work. It wasn't very consistent. I have to figure out how this works. You know. Whoa, I'm 122. I've gone too far. This beast is tired. I need to get myself an ox. The mages to the Jarl in Skyrim, yes. The mages belonging to the Jarl in Skyrim is a good example of how you have a mage as almost your second-hand person. Your almost lead advisor is the mage. Not just because you're dealing with magical enemies, but because how do you think they got their ships working so well? For example, if you walk, I bet you walk up to a fleet of ships where the king has an alchemist, and those ships, like the wood will be treated with a, like I could imagine all the beams of wood aren't just normal wood. There'll be a composite material, perhaps, or maybe covered in a resin where they're waterproof and weird, or maybe have like banding systematically placed to deal with the pressure. It'll be very weird. You'd have all kinds of things. Well, some genius was here. Interesting. How'd you get this worked out? You know? Maybe. Maybe. I'd say it's not that hard to figure out how boats work. You know what I mean? I'll say it's not that hard at all to figure out that boats work. You're shooting something in your backyard, Misty. Oh my. You know, also all you have to do is just live in an area where there's a flood and wait for there to be a big old flood. You'll see some very large trees floating in the river. Very large, with things on top of them. Hey, there's stuff on top of that tree. And it's floating. Huh. Or you throw some stuff in the water and it floats. Some stuff floats, some stuff doesn't. It's not that hard to figure it out, I guess. It's just, do you have the time and energy, and a lot of it is like hand-me-down generational information to figure out how to make a boat properly. I guess the simplest boat is just to get a big old tree and hollow it out. And you get yourself a canoe. If it floats. Getting a boat made from individual pieces of wood, like nailed together or something, would be a weird process to... maybe if you get like a bunch of logs tied really closely together. I can imagine, yeah, a bunch of sticks bundled and banded, cross-sectioned, crisscrossed, perpendicular angles. You can get like a platform of wood, you know, with the right spacing. Of course you can do it. But it takes a long time and a need. So if you can imagine being a tribe where you don't need a boat, and all of a sudden you have another tribe going down the river using an arrow to kill animals on the shoreline, and they're on a boat. They're going, what? It'll be like you're seeing magic. It doesn't matter what it's made of. It'll look like it's a weird magical thing. The fact that they're floating on the water on this weird platform of sticks that are bound together, and they're shooting something with their hands. What's happening? A dart is coming. I don't think they'd be able to process what's happening. All right. Okay. I was reading about whether or not it's a myth that the Native Americans did not see the initial ships when they came in, of Captain Cook expedition to Australia of indigenous Australians. In the journal of John Banks, a botanist accompanied Captain Cook. Apparently there's some rumors that when they first showed up, the people didn't even know what they're looking at. But I read the journal thing just now on the side, and it sounds like it. The whole impression is as the boat came closer and as the ship came closer to shore, the people didn't even look up. They didn't care that there's a big old crazy ship. They didn't seem surprised or concerned one bit as the ship got closer and closer, and then they got off and they started walking towards them. You know? There was no weird shock, alarm, concern. There was nothing. Okay, so now I have 169,000. I would like to get myself a big old ox, and I can go back out there. Okay. Floopy, 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 floop-a-doop-a-doo, floop, and doopy, floop, floop, and a doop, floop, and doop, floop, floop, doop. Okay, rank 6. Enchantment 1. Enchantment 0. Master's Traveling Ox, go.
Satisfied?
I'll never be satisfied. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, Mike, what are you doing in the game right now? What were you doing? One second. One second. I have to force this thing to speak for me. One second. One second. I'm wondering if there's a book or two on Albion. You have that background story, you know? Got the background, but it seems like they're just summarizing some stuff that was never actually written. Kinda weird. I guess it gives them room for other people to write a book. That's kind of how World of Warcraft was. Books were written after the fact sometimes. You know. Maybe. Okay. Alright, here we go. This is the story of Avalon. Long before the first colonists arrived in Albion, its native inhabitants had attuned themselves to the magic within the world by listening to whispers of stick and stone. This was a nature-loving tribe called the Keepers. There were others, though, who saw the pure power of the land and claimed it as their own. These would come to be known as the Avalonians. The Avalonians were a proud and ancient faction. Formed after the dragons went to their long slumber, they learned the power of the land through trial and error, infusing their tools, beasts, and even themselves with magic. After many failed attempts at mastering the crystallized magic of Albion, the Avalonians discovered a great white crystal, purer and stronger than its blue counterparts. An apparatus the size of a lake was built around the enormous crystal, distilling pure, glowing magic in liquid form. The city built to house this grail was named Avalon. Arthur and the Order of the Grail drank from the liquid and pledged their lives to protect it, while a lady of the lake was chosen to judge who was worthy to drink from it. Hurry up. Hurry up. Alright. Alrighty. Let's get in some material. Alright. Okay, let's go check that out again. Why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you doing these things? Why aren't you doing these things? Oh boy. Oh wow. So it's cool to know the background story of this whole thing, you know? Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah. I'm just working on my pickaxery for a while. Y'all can play with me, you know. Y'all can play with me if you want to. A bit of everything as the days go by. Arthur and the Order of the Grail drank from the liquid and pledged their lives to protect it, while a lady of the lake was chosen to judge who was worthy to drink from it. She was named Morgana and was a wise and powerful mage. Thus began the Golden Age of Avalon. Under King Uther and his trusted advisors, Arthur and Morgana. During these golden times, a young keeper druid named Merlin warned of the reawakening of the dragons. When his tribe did not listen to his warnings, he approached the Avalonians for aid. The Avalonians, understanding the lingering danger of the sleeping dragons, were willing to join forces with Merlin. The dragons were defeated by Merlin and the Avalonians in a colossal battle that cost Uther his life. A new ruler was needed. As Merlin learned more of Morgana's growing alliance with demonic forces, he clandestinely crowned Arthur as the new king, rejecting Mordred. Morgana's son, Morgana, hurt and betrayed, spent the following years plotting and corrupting the court of Avalon against Merlin and Arthur, who by that time had left Avalon to rule from Caerleon. A war between the forces of Morgana and Arthur erupted. Overwhelmed by the power of the Order of the Grail, Morgana opened countless gates to hell, letting in innumerable demons. In desperation, Merlin cast a spell that destroyed both armies and condemned Morgana to hell. Afterward, all that remained on the battlefield were the nearly immortal Avalonians. The strongest retreated to Avalon along with the gravely wounded Sir Bedivere, mighty steward of Arthur, swearing an oath to return when Albion needed them. The other surviving Avalonians retreated to guard their hidden grail sources from corruption. Thousands of years later, colonists began to arrive on Albion's shores. Spreading across the land and pillaging everything in sight, portals to hell appeared more frequently. Disciples of Morgana grew restless in their strongholds, and keepers began to emerge from their caves. Deep in the earth, a drop of pure magic fell into a grail. The Order reawakened, ready to cleanse Albion of its impurity. Cool. Cool. Isn't that cool? So the Avalonians see us as, you know, we're just here getting all the resources. Who the heck are we? It was pretty sacred before. Now, you know, Merlin sort of betrayed people, blew everything up. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Background lore in the game here. Yeah. Awesome. All the garbage in the world is mine. Working on a bit of everything. So 1,000, there's people in the chat here are saying that 1,000 rough stone is worth 100,000 silver. I guess it's pretty important. The rough stone is more scarce than the rough logs, which is why it's more expensive, but I think it's important to harvest both. But that's what I'll start doing. Especially if I have this larger ox, you know. Oh yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Oh yeah. Pretty important to get all of these logs. Maybe I'll use one of my gathering kits, but it's not all that important. Maybe I should go make or purchase a goose pie. Or two. Alright, here we go. You had to shoot a snake with what? That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. What kind of snake? What's it taste like? Yeah, and yeah. With the yeah, and yeah. So, Misty, you know Deborah's playing as well. Deborah's still playing in the tutorial. She might be past it already, but she's having a fun time. I think you should download this game on PC, just in the background. I think it's a very small download. Maybe just, you know, just try out the tutorial for a second. Whatever. It's kind of weird, you know, with the top-down view and all that garbage, but I think the long-term Guild War garbage would be really, really awesome. If I'm still playing this game after You see, the big deal is coming up, I think next week or so, or next week and a half, is the big update. The next season of Fallout 76, plus, you know, the One Wasteland and the changes and the legendary perks and all that garbage. Very exciting. That's going to take up all my time, you know. All my time. But we'll see. Oh, the rattlesnake. Oh, yeah. That thing has to go. Shotgun. Oh, yeah. Kind of wish that the view was a bit different, that it was, you know, at a slightly different angle so it feels normal, but I've grown accustomed to this top-down weirdo view, you know. It's like a fog of war. You don't really know what's right around the corner. But it is slightly immersion breaking. It's a different kind of immersion. Yeah. And well, you can get the camera pretty close. Your German Shepherd alerted you to the rattlesnake. Hi-ho, yeah. We call this iron so much. Mm-hmm. Alrighty. No, I didn't get rid of the salamander. Yeah. The salamander is good. It helps me go faster with a regular pace between sprinting and running, but it doesn't help me carry as much. This ox helps me carry more, so that's why I went back and exchanged. I got full too quickly. Other thing helps me carry a couple 100 kilograms, but this thing helps me carry 1,500 kilograms. It's a substantial difference, and it'll help me stay out here in the field longer if I'm just doing this. When I first started, I didn't have enough money to buy an ox. And now I do. Because of that first trip. My goal was to go out there initially, harvest enough rock and everything just to improve my skills a tiny bit, come back to town, and buy an ox. Yeah. I like him too. So I was doing that voice clone thing earlier. I was trying to improve the voice. It'll probably be better this afternoon, you see. The voice that you're hearing, that you heard recently, that's the old voice that I messed up. I messed up the voice to a point where it got like that. It used to sound better than that. But now it's kind of weird. But now, I went to retrain it. So, earlier this morning, I was doing the voice cloning training process, which involves me reading off a script. Well, the script has changed. Before I mentioned that the script was The Wizard of Oz, but now they have me reading this Planet Earth documentary thing. Animals find the most extreme ways to survive. Here in the winter of Antarctic, the emperor penguin protects its child, resting the egg on its feet with its warm, soft stomach, protecting from the harsh winds. That sort of thing. I learned a lot. I learned about, you know, these animals. Oh, they want water. It was really about how water shapes how things work, you know. Pretty cool. You know, water in the ocean evaporates. It's carried inland. Condenses as it gets colder in the upper atmosphere. Forms clouds. The clouds condense further around mountains, and it rains on the highlands. The rain gathers, forming streams, streams forming the rivers. Rivers travel with nutrients down towards the ocean. All along the way, creatures are trying to gather the nutrients. The colder the water is, the less nutrients there are. Warm water has more. You could expect more creatures. Areas that have stabilized temperatures, like the equator, have very large creatures, you know, and those rivers can sustain dolphins. And river deltas, there's trees that gather the nutrients, mangrove forests, and then you have monkeys living up in those trees, surviving, practicing how to swim at a young age, because when the place floods, it's important. Elephants and other animals march for hundreds of miles with very little to no water, along with babies, to go find water in an area where they know water to be, because it was there last time. The whole thing about elephants not forgetting. The matriarchs can smell the water, and they just kind of wait around for a bit. The water comes in with a bunch of fish, you know, because the fish are eating the bugs that are in the dirt. There's bugs in the dirt. All the bugs are going to the surface. The fish are eating it. A bunch of birds are coming in. Birds and fish, right? Then you have all these animals coming in for the water, and their trails are creating channels for the water, so the water spreading further along the route of the animals, and it's like it forms this crazy web. Everything gets all fertile for a while, and then it dries up again. But that's what I had to read. It's a completely different style of reading than reading The Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz is like a story for children involving different characters and a bunch of voices, sort of. A bunch of... And then Dorothy said, and then Scarecrow said, and then the IronTinMan.com said, you know, the whole time. Wicked Witch of the FlimFlamEast.com said, "Hey Dorothy, take off those shoes." But I don't want to go from the forest. Those people are going to kill me. It's good. I want that voice to be good. It's going to eventually have all kinds of nuanced flimflams to it. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Hey there, Dewey. How's it going? Yeah. Yeah. Couple ounces of sandstone. Mm-hmm. Isn't it weird how most rock is just really, 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 really old land compressed? Isn't that weird? It was like a layer of reality from a very long time ago that was compressed and compressed and compressed and buried and then eroded and then exposed. It's a very, very, very old. It's amazing. I think we'll be able to gather a lot more information from rocks. A lot of different, I know not igneous rocks, but sedimentary. Metamorphic. Maybe. Conglomerate, flim-flam. Because, you know how we go out there to the frozen north? I'll answer your question in just a second, Misty. You know how we get to the frozen north to go check ice samples, ice core samples? Because in the ice, you could detect the atmosphere and other variables from that time period, maybe air pollutants. You could say there were this many parts per million of atmospheric aluminum in 1972 or something, I don't know. In 1922 or something. Right? Well, rocks capture all kinds of stuff from reality. Maybe radioactive isotopes, maybe some other factor is all up in that rock. So much data, and I think eventually computer systems are going to decode them. But, Mist, you're asking if the new passages replace the previous voice training or layer on. It layers on, you know? Imagine this. Imagine you are an expert artist, human. You're a human. Just imagine, if you will, if you could, you're a person, and you're a good artist. And I have a picture of my wife, alright? And they're all around the same age, but it's different angles, different facial expressions. The more information I give you, the better. Some information might be kind of bad. You see, if I give you a couple pictures where looking pretty good, smiling, you know, hair's all nice, you can see the face, the complexion's pretty decent. Other faces, maybe the face is kind of like this. You know? Some data will mess up the old data, but it's still... But then new data will help stitch together this and this. If you only have this and that, you're gonna get some in between. But the more you have, the better. It's all layered. It doesn't replace, it's all layered. So you'll have my Wizard of Oz stuff along with the other stuff. But I could choose to have it have different voice styles. I could say this section is read in a different style. For example, for many years, the aspect Flim Flam Gabba Gabba Hee Hey was a strong and mighty and powerful race living in the mountains of yore. Which is different than saying, I don't want to have to go to the store if I don't want to, because if I already have enough groceries, I don't need to buy more. That is different than, I don't want to have to go to the store to buy groceries, because if I already have groceries, I don't need any more. Completely different, sort of. But sometimes, as I'm reading a large section of text, the style starts to slowly shift. So what you end up with is some amalgamation of all that garbage. And that's why it gets warbly from time to time. That's why it might get kind of weird, because sometimes I might be faster or slower, or more tired or more alert. Small differences. You know, maybe my voice doesn't sound as rich. Sometimes it's a normal voice. Sometimes I have a normal voice. You know? Boom, and boom, and a boom, and boom. And a boom and boom and boom. Boom, boom and boom. And a boom and boom a doom boom and a boom and a boom and boom and boom. Boom and boom and boom. Boom to boom with a boom. Boom, boom and boom and boom. And boom. Boom and boom and boom. Okay. You know that program costs $30 a month? That program costs $30 a month. But it lets me do 30 hours of data. So eventually, I could use that program to make actual audiobooks. Because audiobooks really aren't 30 hours long. I should be able to publish maybe 2 or 3 audiobooks a month. Depending on the length. And that's my goal. Maybe. That and to be able to read lore in the background. It was sort of having a problem earlier. Shoot up, doo-ba-da-doo, yeah. With the root and do. Boop and boo. And you. We learned all about the Avalon people. Order of the Grail, Valor. So cool, let's learn about that. I think this would be important when it comes time to do the dungeon. I'm sure there's raids that involve these Order of the Grail. I am Sir Bedivere. You have betrayed all sanction. The Valor subfaction, the first of 3 pillars of the Order of the Grail, embodies strength and power. As its members have drunk from the pure magic waters of the Grail and survived. Yeah. Oh no, my pickaxe is broken. That's a good sign, right? Let's go get all this flim flam over here. I'm a gardener. Sometimes I wish that the respawn rate was a bit slower so I could see my work. I kind of like to see everything being torn down. Hey, so I was having this argument with some random people on Twitch, as I've been doing recently. But this time it was about the nature of gaming. And I mentioned it yesterday, but they were talking about Marvel Avengers, the video game. People were kind of complaining about how grindy it is. And it has the looting structure. And there's some people that are pretty adamant. There's many people in the gaming community that think that all microtransactions are evil and bad, no matter what they are, and they're all gimmicks. And they think that looters are all bad. Anything that makes you loot, or even craft, or do any form of upkeep, or anything of getting that stuff put together. Now I think crafting in general, upgrades, anything, it's all bad. They want to just go out there and do it, and they want to just go out there and do it. I understand what they're saying. If for example you have a Wolverine game, you don't want to have to sit in the dark and hold your arm together as it heals and wrap it with some duct tape and then replace the duct tape. You know, all kinds of. You want to just go out there and do it. You shouldn't have to do upkeep periods. And that's their whole idea. So anytime that game has that, they immediately jump on it and complain. You know? They're saying stuff like, it doesn't make sense for the superhero to be weak against these enemies. And that this specific character should be this specific strength. And these people call themselves fans. You can give a million examples of how a superhero upgrades themselves. They even gave Batman as an example. Okay? Because I said, the Incredible Hulk is just some dude that survived a massive dose of gamma radiation. It's replicatable and improvable. Meaning, in some weird universe, you could have a million bad guys that all have the same thing that Incredible Hulk has. Maybe a worse or better version. You can imagine that, right? So Captain America is the only dude that has that power. It's just a little injection in the arm and a weird machine. It was probably a very focused version of the, he got the super soldier serum along with some other garbage, you know? But why can't all the bad guys have that? I can imagine an elite Hydra army all having some sort of moderate superpower. Why the heck not? Yeah, no? At the same time, just imagine putting a Captain America suit on... Sorry, just imagine putting an Iron Man suit on Captain America. Stark already gave Spider-Man a better suit. He has a couple different suits now, by the way. He has a black one. He has one with like arms coming out the back of it. It's made of metal with the mask coming off with nanotechnology. And I'm sure, and it talks. It has auto kill mode. Remember that? And that suit itself would have upgrades naturally. So you would have progression as you got better and better and better. You know? In that world, you'd think, why would it take more than one punch to kill a street thug if you're Spider-Man? Because in reality, one full punch from Spider-Man should explode someone's head. He's that strong. He's almost as strong as Incredible Hulk. He could hold up a train, all kinds of stuff. A building can fall on him, sort of. He could survive. He's a very, very strong chap, you know? But he should be liquefying enemies if he actually tried. And yet he doesn't in any of the movies. He never does. He never liquefies enemies. He's relatively strong, but because he's not punching them. He's messing with them. He's specifically messing with the enemy. In a Spider-Man game, you have web-based attacks where you go shoot, 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 shoot. You're shooting these web balls at their face really hard to knock them out. But you're not. And if you did do a punch, I guess you are doing some combo attacks. I think he's holding back a bit. I think he's just trying to knock them out. I don't think he's trying to kill them. It's Spider-Man. You know, he's not Deadpool or something. So I think even though you're playing the game, the character themselves is holding back. You could say, why is my character not punching them to death? Because you're telling the character to punch. You're not telling them to... There's no murder button. It's punch. Right? And with Batman, Batman has upgrades all the time. He has a whole utility belt with all kinds of funky gadgets. And if you had a new movie, you'd expect to see new gadgets. You'd expect to see more gadgets. For example, that's all he does. That's all the dude does. Whip out a new gadget because he can't just do the thing. He has to improve himself all the time. When Batman fought Superman, he was in a suit. He used a spear made of kryptonite. Okay? Therefore, when someone said, why is Black Widow in the same bracket as Incredible Hulk? There's no way they should be fighting the same enemies. What, just because she has some magical keychain? Yeah, just because she has a magical keychain. Many times, the only thing that makes somebody magical is the stupid keychain in their pocket. Or some weird artifact, or a cloak that they have on, or the time crystal, or the infinity gauntlet. You know? There's something that lets them use something that's very, very powerful, and that made them powerful. Therefore, you could improve. And who says Black Widow doesn't get to wear armor? She gets to run around like a normal human? It didn't make sense to me all that much. You have Hawkeye, and Black Widow, and... I'm sure there's at least some other standard human just standing there in the middle of a war zone. Captain America doesn't count. He's not really a normal human. But Black Widow's a normal, super trained human. And Hawkeye is a completely normal, super trained human. You know? So, for them to be standing there without armor is really weird. Really weird. You know, you want to just hang out during this big important battle like you're one of us. You're not one of us. You're a person that knows how to fight. Put an armor suit on that person. For example, T'Challa has a Black Panther suit. and drinks of the certain berry juice. He drinks berry juice and puts on a suit, and all of a sudden he's Black Panther, which means the enemy can do the same thing. And anybody. So if Black Widow drank the berry juice and put it on the suit, she'd become pretty awesome. She'd have guns and little smoke bombs and the razor claws, doing flips and everything, maybe. See, I don't know, like the whole idea of having to chop down trees, not in this game, but if you had to, if the game was, oh no, the zombies are coming, build a house and stop the zombies. The better your house is, the more you could survive. Versus stop the zombies from breaking down the existing house by running around the house shooting them before they show up. That's just the phase 2. You want to skip phase 1? It means a whole lot more if you can make it to phase 2 and do that, because you had to, you know, it's the build up and the cooldown, is the reaping and sowing. You don't see the product of all your efforts. It's awesome. You don't just get the thing, you have to work for it. Otherwise, you'd have to, so some people say it's really easy to just say, okay, you get stronger, enemies get stronger, hit point sponge, there you go, you know? When in reality, they can just add more weird gameplay and all that. And whatever. Just add more weird gameplay, and you don't have to have the enemies get stronger. You just have to add more puzzles? More puzzles? Then you shoot the occasional thing? Or more enemies that... Having to shoot at more enemies is the same thing as having a stronger enemy. You know, it just means you have to manage your ammo and all that. There's surprisingly no rough stone here. Yeah. So, if there was an Iron Man game, I would imagine this. The first level, you're playing as Iron Man with the suit on, and you're in the middle of a standard mission. And it's the military is using you as an asset to go take down some ship or to go take down something. And it's all routine and normal. It's like, hey there, Iron Man, great to have you on our side. You got the target? So, and then he does it, but then something bad's going to happen. He's going to crash and burn, and he's going to start from scratch again. And he's going to have his armor is going to be damaged, where he's going to have certain parts of himself that just don't work. And then after the first level, you have to figure out how your suit works. It's like an in-game tutorial where you have to fix your suit. And you have limited capability, like you'd be running around the hallway with just one hand blaster. But it's really just teaching you how to play the game. You don't want to start with that. You want to start as a full Iron Man and then take it away, and then you go beyond Iron Man. After level 3, you are now beyond what you know Iron Man can do. At that point, he can teleport or something. He has robot arms like Dr. Octopus coming out, like, you know, all kinds of stuff he could do at that point. He could throw his suit at the wall and he could turn his entire suit into a car, you know, at level 5. Something. He could have 2 drone robots flying behind him at all times. Just imagine, you know, just having 2 or 3 empty Iron Man suits serving as drones. Yeah, the briefcase suit. Yeah. At one point, he had the watch suit. Boop, beep, bop, bop, whoop, chomp. The hoodie or something. It was like he tapped his chest and the whole thing. His hoodie itself was the suit. It was just in a different material because of the nanostructure. It became cloth, even though it's not cloth, or it was very small, concealed. Garbage. Well, the point is that superheroes aren't static. You might think that they're static, but very quickly they get new tools. You know, because draw Thor. He has the funny hat with the wings on it. He has the suit with the things on the chest. He has a red cape. He has a hammer. He goes, huh? He has a beard, yellowish beard, you know, kind of tall. Goes, "Rrr." He speaks in old Viking language, you know. Ah, hail, brethren. All the time, boom. But then quickly, if he had a show, by season 3, he would have dark hair, a shaven beard, one eye color different, lose the accent, have a hook hand. And that's what they did in the Thor thing. They made him obese, slightly different color, you know, whatever. Because you have to change the thing a little bit. And they gave him a different weapon. An upgrade. He got an upgrade from Mjolnir. Think about that one. How's that even possible? Thor equals Mjolnir. No, it doesn't. Thor is Thor. Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. Alright, let's check it out. The Valor Subfaction, first of the 3 pillars of the Order of the Grail, embodies strength and power, as its members have drunk from the pure magic waters of the Grail and survived. These fighters use both melee and ranged attacks, swinging at the players with tremendous swords or twin axes, but are also defenders who can cast mighty shield spells that knock enemies back and reflect damage. Their oath describes them as vessels of the Grail's power, meaning they convey themselves with stoicism and dignity, but are not afraid to show their full strength when the sanctity of their realm is threatened. Yeah. Oh yeah. Whoa. There's a surprisingly little amount of resources of the rough stone. Oh, it takes so long, but you gotta do what you gotta do when you gotta do it. Just right now. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, bum, bam, boom. With a bum, bum, bam, beam. And a bum, bum, bam, boom. And a bum, bum, bam, bam. Okay. Look at the splendor. Look at the glory. Yeah. I think the whole idea of cloth making, well, cloth making and like fabric, you know, fabric and rope from nonsense is pretty darn awesome. I understand basket weaving, like you take like these long blades of grass and you could, there it is, basket, yeehaw, or even clothing from that concept. But taking like weird scraps of fiber and like twisting and compressing and twisting and making a weird long rope out of it, it's crazy. Making spools of it and selling it to other people, that's why fabric would be so darn expensive a long time ago. You know, spools of elaborate, amazing fabric, that's a very high technology. If you think about it. Think about it. Right now we've industrialized it, of course, but fabric is one of the most craziest things. It's almost like you're making a loaf of bread. You're taking a whole field of grain, crushing it up to make a powder, you know, mixing some garbage in, and there you go. Here, you're taking a whole field of some fibrous plant, getting a big old bushy amount of flim-flam, compressing and twisting it until you get some stringy thing, and taking that string and twisting it around itself and tying it laterally and having it woven with itself to form a sheet is pretty darn awesome. Because it takes a long time and a lot of deliberate, weird, masterful effort to make a sheet of fabric. But once you master it and you get like the sewing needles and you know what plant to use for the fiber, you know, it becomes normal, completely normal. But I trust it ain't normal. Okay, one thing, using animal hides as clothing is really weird, and no one would ever do it. I can't imagine a person ever voluntarily putting on, like, the skin of a wolf for warmth, because it wouldn't be in the cold area to begin with. Or they'd be covered in hair. You know what I mean? You'd have... People would be hairier, and you'd have more fat. You'd have more fat and more hair. And that's it. There's hairy fat people alive right now, and they don't need to live in the tundra to survive. You know? We don't need to evolve anymore, but there are hairy fat people. Their backs are covered in hair right now. You know? I'm sure that would help a bit if it's cold. Versus a person that is completely hairless. It's people that don't... I don't have any chest hair, by the way. It's just how I was born. Right? If I was in the cold, I'd be having a problem. Somebody else that weighs 100 pounds more than me, just genetically, with covered in hair, would be just fine. My whole point is that you don't really have a reason to skin the animal and then turn the skin into clothing. Because it's really weird using leather. I think it's weird. And it's weirder and very advanced and genius level to make fabric clothing, you know? So, because I was reading that thing about Captain Cook visiting the indigenous Australia and assuming that they couldn't see his ship because they've never seen it before, he described them all as being naked. Why would they ever be surprised? Why would it be surprising to see a untouched culture not have clothing? Because you don't need it. I'm not advocating for anything, but I think it's just one of those weird things of high technology, like bread, that we take for granted. Bread, plastic is pretty darn bizarre, you know. High technologies from Miracle Land of Asgard, like cloth. Just because we've had cloth around for a very long time don't mean squat. And in fact, what we think of as a long time ain't that long at all. We've always had cloth. As long as recorded history is around. Some culture on Earth had cloth. Somewhere, somebody had clothing on, and they're covered in leather or cloth. During all of our recorded history. Everybody had it. They weren't riding some weird cuneiform thing, wearing nothing, but maybe they were. But they weren't. So it's been a technology that's been passed down, and I'm sure whenever one culture has it, they say, "Oh gosh, cover yourself up. You're so weird looking." Yes, and the same concept applies to silk. Silk is even stranger, and it was a secret for a long time. You have these silkworms from like this moth I'm imagining that you would have this part of the forest where the silkworm naturally lives, and I imagine that part of the forest is horrible, covered up in this weird, sticky, horrible garbage. And people will go in there saying, you know what, we could probably use this. This is some pretty strong stuff. Watch, if I go like this, I can't tear it. That's so weird. Watch. It's so strong. It's crazy. What can we do with this? Look how shiny it is. I wonder, 1 second. Oh my god, look at this. Look at this rope I just made. And then they go from there. The silk is pretty darn awesome. It's amazing. It's a very thin, strong thread, you know? And it makes clothing pretty darn... It's like a... You might as well be some sort of like an angel person walking around in silk. But now, oh, expensive silks. There was no money back then. It was just, do you know how to do it or not? And do you have the means to do it? It's not about, do you have enough money? It's now, with our whole world being interconnected, if you have the money, you can get whatever you want. But back then, you have to have a whole civilization do it for you. Hey, king, I got $2 million in gold bricks. Have your people make some cloth. I'll come back in 10 years. What is it? Here's some diagrams. Imagine you had a bunch of resources for the king, a bunch of food and stuff, and some diagrams on how to exactly make, you know, the tapestry field with the things and diagrams and what... They couldn't do it. I'll give you all the ships, all the gold, all the... Here, this is chocolate. Try it out. You have chocolate. You have some coffee. Seasonings. Anything you want. I'll come back in 10 years. You better have some darn clothing on. You better make this sheet of... all I want is just a bed sheet. Give me a bed sheet. What's that? What is that? What is it? It's a bed sheet. Huh? Oh no. Just look around you and think about carpet. Think about the miracle of carpet. Think about it. It's all oil based. It's all like oil from the ground, and it's just a tiny thread bundled around. It's just a million of them. Just a million carpet little things. It's horrifying. It's honestly like making a cloth fabric sort of situation is different than making like paint. Paint, you just throw in some rocks, crush them up, get some oils, mix them up, keep on mixing it until, hey, look, it's paint now. Done. There's no weird process to make it. It's not some crazy science to make some darn fabric. But look at this darn shirt. This is... What the heck? If I went back in time, they'd be most concerned about what the heck I'm wearing. Really. Because there's all kinds of evidence from being a super duper... Like, if you show up in your clothing, especially if you... Like, my shorts are made out of, like, a nylon or something. You know? Think about it. Just show up with... Maybe with, like, a printed tee with a picture on it. Like, there's a picture on your shirt. That's all you need. That and, like, maybe your phone... Just whatever you have on you, just go back in time. Doo-dab-doo-ba-doo-doo, yeah. Okay. Just think, without, you know, if you think about languages and how different they are, that's how different people are. Before exposure to one another, but now, you know, we've had exposure to other cultures and other people for a very long time. But a long time ago, they weren't. They didn't even know that they existed. You know? They didn't even know. Didn't know. You have neighboring civilizations that are leagues of years in different technology states. Yeah, you got the Asgardians over the hill. They got their hovercraft. Their laser photon cannons, and we got our sticks. For example, if you came there with shoes on, like running shoes, I don't think they'll be able to figure out what they're made of. Like rubber? I don't think they'll know what rubber is. So what is this? Or like even having anything plastic, they wouldn't know what the heck it is. Like what is this weird thing? Or even like a transparent container with liquid inside. I'm talking about a pre-glass civilization. Even the notion of glass, it's very similar. You get a bunch of sand, you get it together, you get it really hot, it melts, and then you find some way to spread that garbage out uniformly so it doesn't crack, and you mass produce that garbage until it's ridiculous. So in other words, we've always known how to make glass. I'm looking at it, and 1500 BC, glass making started in Egypt. The first metal blowpipe appeared. No, it didn't start any time, you morons. You can't say it started. You can say the earliest recorded history of is what you can say. The earliest evidence dates back to. You can't say it started on this date because that's when you found the thing. Come on, that's so dumb. And this one civilization, the old one, the big one with the big building, yeah, they started it, not the ones next to them. I think it came from, you know, the world before that. There was a world before Egypt, the world of, you know, the old world of Atlantis and all that garbage, whatever you want to call it. The world before the world, the magical world of Avalon, or whatever you want to call it, you know. There's something back then when everything was pretty darn highly scientific. They probably had bread back then. They had noodles. They had cloth. They had glass. They had agriculture. You know, all that garbage. All the normal things that you'd expect nowadays. They weren't animals, is the point. If you don't have all those things I mentioned, you are an animal. Because you don't need any of those things. You shouldn't need any of those things. Think about it. Like, why even need... Like, why would you need... Why would you ever have a hut? Wouldn't you look for a cave? Why would you spend your time making a hut? Does the rain bother you that much? You can't go in a tree or something? But I have a hut for all my things. What are we talking about, your things? What's happening? I gotta make a net. I gotta make a net to catch the fish. You see, you can use a natural net. Like, all you gotta do is put a bunch of branches in the water. And there you go. But making a net takes a very long time. Think about, you know, you have to make a rope out of fiber. And the rope is the weird part. And then you have to make a net out of the rope. It's like a two-part process taking a very long time. It might take you like a month of work to make the net, if it works. I can imagine people using molten glass as a weapon. Wouldn't that be an amazing weapon to use? It's like ultra napalm. If you found a way to blow, like, to spray liquid glass like it's a flamethrower, you know? Or like napalm. That'd be awesome. You heat up some tank, it goes flim flim flam, and it goes flam. Because if someone sprays you with molten glass, there's nothing you can do about that. Sorry. Going down. If someone sprays your house with molten glass, it's catching on fire. There's nothing you can do about it. You have to remove the molten glass because it's too hot. I mean, super molten to the point where, yeah, like lava, like a lava gun. If you had any method to, but see, I think, well, let's just say that glass, molten glass, is a very specific kind of lava, a purified lava, where it's a very nice consistency. Yeah, shoot some molten rock at some people's houses. That'd be awesome. We won the war. If you had like a bunch of ships coming in, they have like this lava tanks or glass tanks just going. I think the glass thing would be cool because the glass, it would be like magic. It would be like, because once it dries, it'll look really cool. But what did you do? It'll be like a weird brownish glass encasing a bunch of burnt stuff. The lava gun would be like a bunch of rock, like you somehow encased it. If people came back to go check on what happened to the city, like if Caesar heard about some city being taken by some new technology, and he rides his caravan down there to go check it out, and when he shows up he sees a city decimated by lava or by molten glass, smoky ruins, big old piles of weird rock things. What in the world? Call Merlin. Get our best astronomicons out here. We have to figure this out. Call Merlin and the best witches of the area. Yeah, it's... Yep. Same temperature probably as molten rock. Well, of course it has a different precise temperature, and everything has a different melting point. But, yeah. I think they could do it because you could really... That's how fiber optics are made, where it goes down to a very thin strand. If they found a way to, like, strandify it and go flow, it'd be like a big sticky web of molten glass. Floof! Ah! Yeah, because it'll be sticky. Molten glass is very sticky. So I can imagine a bolo made of molten glass. A bolo is like a string with heavy weights at the end, where you throw it at someone's feet and it wraps around really tight. Right? So I think, you know, the physics will still apply. Like this. Like that. Like this. Just imagine this. You could buy that? Imagine this being made out of molten glass. And you throw it at somebody. And part of it will... It'll break apart, of course. But, ooh boy. With those round balls being a big blob of it, and the middle being like a connecting strand, you throw it out there, it goes framp, woof. I'm pretty sure it'll obey physics. If you throw it, it's connected with enough tension. Maybe you can embed some wires or something to give it some strength. You embed some copper wires in the whole thing to give it some strength so it holds up together. You know, you make a mesh ball of copper encasing glass, and you heat the whole thing up to just below the melting point of copper, but above the melting point of glass, and you throw the whole thing at someone's feet. Or at the mast of a ship. It'll go woof 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 kabloom! It'll probably explode upon final contact after wrapping itself around. Yeah. Here, I'll type it in. Molten glass weapon. Elder Scrolls has it. The Elder Scrolls has it. Elder Scrolls has molten glass weapons. How come there's no rough stone around here? Alright. This place really... well, I bet you the Highland area will have more stones. Right? Probably. I could make my way there. It's so far away, though. Boom boom ba doom ba doom boom with a boom 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 and a boom 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 and a boom 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 a boom boom. Okay, I'm gonna go this way. This is all limestone. Hey Cortana, what is limestone?
Limestone means a hard sedimentary rock, composed mainly of calcium carbonate or dolomite, used as building material and in the making of cement.
You know where that comes from, people? Ancient coral reefs. That's where all that calcium carbonate comes from. If you have a big old limestone quarry, just know that a long time ago, that is a compressed, super compressed, old mountain of bone. You know, coral grows on top of one another, where the newer layers is where life is. If you have a mountain of coral, the whole thing isn't alive. It's just a very outer surface. The rest of it is bone, and it grows upon that scaffolding. It probably filters nutrients and does all kinds of garbage. We know that the whole thing is porous. It probably behaves in ways that we don't know. Whenever I see coral, I'm pretty sure that there's networks of fluid traveling through the whole thing. It's porous, the whole thing. When they say that life is only at the surface, well, just the observable stuff, or whatever. I'll tell you what, there's not many rocks around here. Oh man, there's not many rocks at all. Alright, let's go back. Not many stones. I'll get them when I can. Oh, you find fossilized shells in the area? So crazy how the whole thing works. The whole idea of old time is astonishing. So long. All them aliens doing things without our say-so. Aliens doing your funky thing, ho. Doing stuff all day. Some funky things. My property. Yeah, so in that animal documentary, Planet Earth thing that I was forced to read, you know, I find that these animal documentaries are always biased towards the attractive animals. Or towards the herbivores. Unless the carnivore is hunting fish, and then who cares? Fish are soulless monsters compared to Discovery Channel. Fish don't matter. All the other animals in the world matter besides fish. I don't know. Sometimes they give the fish a personality, but most of the times they're totally rooting for like the bear or the otter or something. Especially if the creatures eating the fish are especially pretty. You know, all depending on what wants to eat the fish. If a dangerous shark wants to eat the fish, then we root for the fish. Or some weird barracuda fish. If another fish wants to eat the fish, then we root for the prey. But if the predator is attractive, like a sea otter, we'll show them eating clams all day. Doesn't matter. All happy eating fish, sitting there. Who cares about them? Okay, now let's go up and over. I mean, no one cares about the fish. Did you know that it's proven that fish can't feel pain? Or is it proven that fish can't scream? Fish can't scream. Fish cannot give an indicator to you that they are receiving pain. Besides flopping away frantically. Besides the whole flopping situation, there's no indication of pain whatsoever. Watch this. Nothing. Just because the fish is like... No indication. Zero. Watch me pull this hook out of its mouth as it's flopping frantically. But whatever. But then again, a dead thing will flop around frantically. Dead things flop around. You cut off the head of a chicken, it's gonna just flop around for a bit. I'm going back up to town. Gotta repair my tool and unload everything. Yeah. I have to go to the highland to get some of that rock. Yeah, with a yeah, one time. So, yesterday I set up my pasture, and now I have some baby chickens, of course, from yesterday. And some baby horses and baby oxen. I have to level up my proficiency in getting those animals up and running. I would love to be able to make mounts, you know? Yeah. Yeah, with a yeah, and yeah, with a yeah, and yeah, one time. Done. Yep. Every so often I write something on Twitter. You know. I'm trying to help out the world see the truth. I'm all up in these circles of discussion about things. There's a video of a truck. There's a video of a truck of mail being dumped in an airport parking lot. Caught on security camera footage. But they don't know the full story. But CBS published the article. They published an article showing there's a video circulating about a truck dumping mail in a parking lot. We don't know what it means. Then do this darn... Call them and find out in 3 seconds. Why would you report on half the information, leaving room for conspiracy theories? That's so stupid. So stupid. It makes it seem like someone is tampering with the Postal Service on purpose for nefarious reasons, to support one side or the other. By the way, it seems like someone's doing it on purpose, when it's probably something completely routine that no one has any idea, but this stuff happens all the time, you know, where you have to go put your thing in the thing. Okay, I'm moving that away. Let's go sell everything first. Now, I'm pretty sure it's completely routine, whatever the heck is going on. Just like removing post office boxes. That's a normal thing that happens all the time. Because they get replaced. Because they're old. Because people don't use the mail service and stuff. Crazy. Alright. Birch. Cotton. 3,000. Boom. 637. That sandstone gave me 28,000. Okay. If you don't know, now you know. If you didn't know, now you know. But you didn't know, oh yeah. If you don't know, I ho. If you didn't know, let's go. 1 second. Oh, you knew. If you don't know, I don't know what you even know. If you don't know, I don't know what you even know. Oh, you ever knew it again? Let me repeat it. Antifama. Alright, we're going out there into the highlandbowl.com, whatever. So I have to go up and around. It's pretty far. Hi-ho, I don't know what you even know. Hi-ho, I don't know what you even know. Hi-ho, I don't know. Hi-ho, I don't know what you even know. Yep. I don't know what you say. Yep. Here we go every day. Yep. That way. Alright. don't know what you ever really wanna know. If you don't know. I am a man. All right, cool. Okay. I'll be gone just for a second. Here is a story of Avalon. Just for a minute. While I walk away. Yeah. Long before the first colonists arrived in Albion, its native inhabitants had attuned themselves to the magic within the world by listening to whispers of stick